we can have a whole theoretical understanding of what the course means and what it's teaching us and what Jesus is trying to tell us, about the ego, about the spirit. But if we don't
Yes.
have practical application and examples in our life, we won't gain that experience, because in the end, the book is leading us to an experience of love, an experience of release, an experience of peace through the tools like forgiveness, the type of forgiveness that the course is teaching us, of course, which is
Yeah, that's
it
the
goes beyond, the
that
typical.
forgiveness is a it's a rough one, you know.
Yeah, it's radical. It's very radical, for
It
sure.
is. But it does bring peace. I've got so much more peace. I've got so much more peace since I started the course. I just every day I'm watching how I think. My thinking is so off, you know.
Mm.
So every day I'm trying to, just say no, no ego. You're not
Mm,
going there with me.
right.
You're a liar. You're a liar. God, the ego is such a liar, isn't it? Oh my God, and we believe it. We believe it. I look back, I was looking at some pictures of myself, and I've always hated, I said last night, I always hated myself. I've hated the way I look. I've hated the family I came into. I've hated everything about my life. And I was looking at some pictures today and I was like, God, I was gorgeous, and I was so slim. And I thought I was so fat. And I was looking at the pictures and I'm like, what? I wasn't even fat. I was so small, and I'm like, the ego is such a liar,
It's a distorter of the truth.
isn't it?
Like it
Yeah,
distorts everything. Like you think you see it some way, and it's
yeah,
really not what's actually there. It's a perception, it's an interpretation. And like you said, I'm choosing to accept it or not. Like I can now we're aware, like, oh wait, this is not true. These are lies.
yeah,
And we've been so gullible our entire lives. Like it is the truth. And now we can question our mind. That's what self-inquiry is. That is the mindfulness that we're invited to. Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
the ego is like an entity, isn't it? What is the? I mean, what is the ego? What is it? Is it
Mm.
what is it?
The ego is just a mistaken belief in our minds that we had. There is no ego. There's no ego out there anywhere. It's just a
Ultimately.
mistaken belief.
Mhm. So what Mike is referring to is the ultimate truth of what the course is teaching us. Like ego is actually an illusion, just like the ego is a liar, right? Everything that comes from a liar is based already on a lie. So the ego,
Yeah,
let's say the ego is a liar. All these thoughts that come from that side of our mind are lies, true, illusions, true. But ultimately, it itself, it only it only births lies because it itself is a lie. It's not something true. It's something that we believe to be true. And that is why we're
yeah,
having this entire
yeah,
experience. It is something that we've given the power to and allowed to believe the basic belief, I am separate from God.
yeah, yeah.
And
Okay.
because I believe that one thing, whether it's consciously or unconsciously, most of us, if we believe in God and if we believed in God most of our life,
Yeah,
we don't truly think like, oh, I'm separate. I don't believe I'm separate from God. Like God's always with me and I believe
yeah,
in
yeah,
him
yeah,
and
yeah,
he's
yeah,
there.
yeah,
But that's not what the course is saying. Jesus is saying, no, 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 it's deeper than that. That's what you think you believe. But under all of that, ultimately, you actually believe that you're separate. And you believe that this
yeah,
body is where you
yeah,
hold your truth. It's what
yeah,
holds your being. It's what's part of your identity. And
yeah,
he's saying there's all these traps and they all come from the mind, but they all stem from that one original belief. And what one original belief, which is a false belief, but we still believed it. So we power it. Doesn't matter if it's true or not. We have the power to power it, right? Is that we're separate.
yeah, 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 yeah,
And then because we're separate, we have a different will to God's. Yeah. So now I know what I need. I know what life is supposed to
Yeah,
be for me.
yeah,
I know
yeah,
what's going to fulfill me.
yeah,
Right. And then we live this, and I know what that person is about. And I know who they think that, like it's the I know mind. I know what everything is about. It's that it's it's almost like a false arrogance because it's like this I know better than God knows for me. And the only reason I think I know better is because I believe I'm separate. Because if I thought I was actually one with God, I would worry of nothing. If I
right,
knew my true identity, I
right.
would be in a state of rest and in a state of joy, like, okay, what's coming to me today? Because I know who I am. There's nothing on the outside level that could really infringe upon. If anything, if it's something tough, I could see it as, like even Daniel's always saying, I could see it as something that's like a lesson that's here to give me a gift, you know? Like even this passing of your beautiful pit bull, there's a gift lying in that. And either you can choose to arrive at that gift, or you can stay in the place of
Yeah,
separation from your brothers, of separation from God, and of separation of the pit bull itself, because he's a part of that oneness of love, of what a symbol of that ultimate love that you experienced. And yeah, maybe Daniel can talk a little more about the idea of loss, because I think that is a huge part of the journey of awakening, you know, um,
yeah,
when
yeah. And I've
we,
had a lot of loss in my life, a lot of loss, and I don't deal with loss too well. So when, it's hard for me when I lose something to really deal with. I don't handle it too well at all.
well, it's important to be honest about that. Yeah, like that's hard for me, like I don't handle it well, but now we can look at it, we can see it, we can talk about it, and I think that's a big step.
Yeah. And then I look at, okay, I was driving yesterday and I saw a little dog laying down in the street, and I just wanted to go pick it up, and compare I just compare everything. I feel sorry for everything because I just don't want it to suffer like I did. I know that's wrong, but I didn't want it to feel alone and abandoned and suffer. And I just thought about it all day. I wanted to go. I don't want anything to hurt the way that I hurt. I know does that make sense? So I want to save everything in the world and everybody except myself, I guess. Oh God, I'm sorry.
Don't, don't be sorry, Lori. This is the space. This is the space where we hold we hold the
How
truth
do
of
I
who
get?
you are for you, and you can release. I think Daniel wanted to come on and say something.
Yeah. When I come back to balance. um, that no one ever said this life was meant to be easy. You know, I mean, when you were just Lori, when you were just talking about wanting to, go help, right? I find myself confronted with those situations myself. For example, um, like I feel horrible for not helping, but I passed by a blind man a few weeks ago, and I held the door open for him. But he was trying to navigate through some hallways and up some stairs back outside of the rec center we were in, and I didn't offer my hand. I didn't offer help, and to me, that's like I'm here to help everyone. I'm here to offer my hand, offer that guidance to everyone I can, and whenever I don't, it feels wrong not to, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
But what I have learned through my experiences is we all have challenges in our life, from losing a pet to being blind to losing children, which is my experience. You know, everything in this life is a challenge meant for us to learn from and grow from. Or at least that's how I've come to see it. And we can help others, or we can leave others to their challenges and for them to overcome on their own on an individual basis, which is kind of a paradox. It's kind of backwards, because what I've learned is when we help others, we are also slightly taking away the experience of them overcoming that challenge on their own.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And so while we can hinder that person, you know, slightly, I've come to the realization that we're here to help. You know, no matter how small, no matter how big, we're here to help. And everybody needs help every now and then. You know, we can try to think we can do this on our own, and going back, another paradox. You know, we are all connected. We are all in this together. And if we are leaving each other to our own fate, our individual journeys, you know, we are acknowledging that separation. We are, um, I would say, backing. We are putting more energy into separating ourselves from the world around us rather than coming together and bringing ourselves together, if that makes sense. Through those acts of kindness and acts of love and acts of helping others. You know, we can speculate all day long on what the best course of action is, but some action is better than no action.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, if we are faced with those situations where we see somebody that we know is struggling and is probably asking for help, then why not? You know, why not? It puts it takes some weight off of their shoulders. It allows us to do something that makes us feel good, and in turn we share that energy with those around us. You know, so I say whenever we are confronted with those experiences where we see somebody or something, a soul, a being that needs help, reach out that hand and offer that help.
Yeah, beautiful, Daniel. I I feel to add that something that's really important is to have a self check-in as to where the action is coming from, right? So what is the state within me that is pushing me towards the action? In other words, absolutely, help should be the default, but even in the Course in Miracles, Jesus is teaching us what true empathy is. We have an idea of what empathy is, and then we have true empathy. And so if we're coming from a place where we see things broken and we want to fix them,
Yeah,
then
that's it.
all we are doing is perpetuating the belief in brokenness,
Yes,
right?
that's it.
In many
Yeah, that's it.
ways.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
that's it.
it's absolutely we want to help and extend. But what is our internal posture? What place are we coming from in the mind as we see the other? And that's what I think Danny was hinting at, the part of like sometimes, and that's when I put in the chat, like the enabling, because we
Yeah.
can help,
That's yeah.
especially if we're talking about humans, not so much, a soul like an animal, right? But more specifically, we can extend a hand and even for a certain amount of time. But then there is a point where people need to have certain experiences themselves, and we can be um, either enabling their behavior, which allows them to remain where they are also sorry, my cat started meowing. What happened? um, and she normally doesn't meow very loud, so that's why it got my attention. Or yeah, we can enable that, and really the invitation is to see all beings as the light that they truly are. Because we're trying to see ourselves as we truly are. We're trying to remember that essence that God has placed in us that makes us who we truly are, beyond this body, beyond these achievements, beyond this culture, you know? Um,
Yes.
and when we connect with others, it's a perfect opportunity, especially others in help, to check in. Am I doing this from a place of fear, from a place of seeing brokenness and having pity? Or am I doing this because I feel the move to call to truly extend a hand, because that is like the most natural thing to do. And that's a discernment that we start to gain naturally on the path. But true empathy, it's a really big part. I don't know, Mike, if you have anything to add about true empathy here, but I know it's a big
Sure.
part for us.
Yeah, sure. Actually, there is an entire section in the course that is called True Empathy. And true empathy is really looking at somebody, not at their ego, oh, I feel sorry for them, their ego story, but at who they really are. Tell you a cute story. Somebody years ago, somebody looked at a phrase in the Bible, I am that I am. And they said, well, there's a comma missing there. You look at a homeless person in the street and you say, I am that, comma, I am. You're the same as a homeless person. And what I said was, that's only one step. That's really not it. You look at the homeless person lying there in the street, all filthy and hungry, and you say, I am not that. I am not. But neither are you. You look at that person is a holy child of God, going through a dysfunctional story, sleeping on the sidewalk, and oh my God, give me. What you look at him is, how can I help this person's reality? In some cases, it may be
Help.
uh, give him some money, or in other cases, you may be guided that that's just gonna enable that. I saw somebody one time at a gas station with a sign that said, I won't lie to you, I need a beer. You know, so giving that person, at least he was honest about it. Or I always say, somebody who's an alcoholic, he's a friend of yours. Oh man, I'm really, I mean, I'm really, I don't have any money to buy a bottle. Can you lend me some money? Is giving him money to buy a bottle of booze helping him? I might be, that might be enabling his ego to continue to be an alcoholic, but is that helping him to come to terms with his own reality? And that's, the Course calls it seeing the face of Christ. You're not a homeless person sleeping on the sidewalk. You're a holy child of God. And whatever we're guided from, that place of love in here, that is the best thing to do in this case, is what we do for that person's reality, not to enable their ego story, but how can I help this person?
Right. And I think it has a lot to do with like, it doesn't have much to do with what we do, like whether we give $2, $20, or we give a smile. It's not about what we do, but it's where we're coming from, like what
That's
place
right.
we're coming from, how we're seeing them. Like you said, you are not that, and neither am I. Like, we are so much more beyond this, and I can see it in you. And from that state, do I feel moved to give? Do I feel moved to have a conversation and just recognize this person as a human being who people look away from every day when they're asking for something? I may not have money on me, but I have I have my beingness to share. I have a smile to share. Hello, how you doing today? Sometimes I stop at lights and people are asking and I'll say, look, I don't have anything on me, but how are you doing today? And I used to be afraid of that, of like, and we don't have to be, we of course have to be discerning if we, feel that there is lack of safety or, but in general, let's say in the general aspect of things, there's a lot of things we can give that don't have to be material to allow another person to feel seen and and
And
loved.
the real giving is not the money or the material thing. The real giving is what we're giving from our heart.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you all. You made me see things a lot more clearly because yet I do give it out of feeling sorry for them because I feel sorry for myself. So I see the parallel,
Mm.
So I'm working on that. And the animals, they touch me more than even humans do. I know that's terrible to say, but they do.
There's the truth.
Because they don't, they don't ask for that. They didn't do anything to deserve to be abused and mistreated. So, you know, how does that relate? How does that relate to us? It's like I was going to ask. So, what if you've got a murderer, and we're all one? People do cruel things, and we're all one. How does that relate to each of us? I mean, are we the same as the murderer? Is it okay? Does that make sense? I don't know
Yes,
if
yes,
that
absolutely. This is
makes
a
sense.
wonderful question, Lori.
Is it okay
And
what
I
they're
think
doing?
I think a lot of us have this question, like it's not a bad thing, but it's an egoic question. It's a way like, how do I, we go to the other end, like, well, so are you telling me like the murderer is a part of me? So I'm a
Yes.
murderer, and
Yeah,
because
yes,
everyone
yes.
is a part of us, but it's not really so much what the person is, but it's rather the belief in death and in murder and destruction. If there's something I've learned is the fact that there is a murderer, or we can see a murderer and we can experience murder in our world, it is because we believe ultimately first in separation. Nobody can murder anybody if we don't believe we're separate, right? And so based on that like premise of separation, that is the egoic foundation that we have within our split mind, right? We are it's not that like if I see a murderer or somebody even in my family or something so deep, I judge that or I see that, now that means that mirrors the murderer in me, or like but what it shows me is the belief in loss, in pain, in um in murder itself, right? Because the Course in Miracles, Jesus is taking us beyond all of this to see the truth of what is happening. And it's not to diminish the acts of whatever the murderer has done. Just because he is a child of God or she is a child of God, ultimately, it doesn't take away from their choices, right? Their choices will lead them naturally to consequences that will ultimately, if you zoom out, the bigger story, it's taking them ultimately, and everyone who is connected to them and their experiences, who've all had soul contracts, you know, all of this is ultimately taking us to wake up to who we are. Some of us have chosen, quote unquote, more challenging lessons for our waking up, for our connection, for our deeper connection to God. So it's not about what do you call it? Like, it's not about denying what in this experience a murderer has done, but it is about noticing that we have murder in our lives because we believe in death. We believe in separation. Would we truly believe that we were one with God, death would not be a question, right? And murder is one way that is extended that we experience death, because it is the ego, it's two bodies having an experience separately from each other. Now we're going into the metaphysics of what is being taught in the course. Yeah, I'm reading here what Loria said. A murderer may be a child of God in terms of their potential for redemption. I feel that their actions, such as a murder, do not reflect God's character or will. Exactly. A murderer, thank you, Loria, actually reflects, it is the manifestation, let's say, beautiful, of the egoic collective mind that we are all tapping into. That is a false mind. That's the one. So when we see murder, we're seeing a reflection. We're seeing what Jesus calls in the Course the witnesses, right? The witnesses to the ego story. The things that represent and are a testimony to the ego story, the things that we've believed in. But just as powerful, when we see acts of love, when we see witnesses to truth, when we see loving humans doing their path, mothers, whether it's gurus who've awakened, people that we meet on the path, it could be even a homeless man that we meet and teaches us something so deep about love. All of that are witnesses to the truth of the mind that we are. And yet in this experience, we have the capability, the access to both. We have the access to both, but we have the choice, right? We are the chooser. Because in the spirit, we're right, the decision maker. The decision maker. So it's there, but it doesn't make you a murderer. It just makes you realize there's a belief in me about destruction, about death, about loss. It's there. And that's the egoic mind that we've all tapped into, the collective mind, generation after generation, lifetime after lifetime. The Course is teaching us that the ego is the past. Literally, that is another definition of the ego, the past. Because it is the past, the concepts just repeating themselves. It's the things that we don't heal, the things that we bring into this moment, and we escape this actual moment. We don't give it a clean slate. We don't look at our brother that we've known for years and say, I look at you today, clean slate. I clean the past of my mind, in my mind of who you are. I look at you as if I'm meeting you for the first time. That's very hard for us to do. The ego will bring the whole story. Oh, I know what you did. I know how you act. I know how you're going to react when I say this. And it creates more division. And it brings the past into the present, which is the greatest defense to the present moment. The past and the future are the defenses for us actually receiving the present moment, the pristine gift of the present moment.
And it's also about perspective as well. The ego likes to attach itself to one perspective. We could we can look at murder as this evil, dark, terrible thing, but in truth, we are all murderers. Have we not all stepped on a bug or squashed a spider or something like that? Those are innocent lives, and we take those carelessly through fear. We are so much bigger than a bug that we don't need to kill that bug because that bug is harmless to us most. But we kill those things out of fear that thing is carrying some deadly toxin and it's going to kill me. And what about soldiers? As a combat veteran myself, what about those who have gone to war? Is that not murder as well? Is it not taking an innocent life? We can say that, though. We can say that they're our enemy. We can say that they're guilty. We can say that they're not innocent, but they are. They know not what they do. It's as simple as that. Any soldier that picks up a weapon and points it at somebody else does not know what they are doing. They are following blindly, blind orders. And so, do we condemn those people as well? Do we call them murderers and all that? No, because they're they're just innocent, just like those pulling the trigger. They know not what they do. But what happens when you have somebody who's consciously planning murder? The Las Vegas shooting, the Boston Marathon bombers, the Unabomber, all these individuals who are planning out murder. How do we look at that? What's the perspective there?
That's
And
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just say, and we can't we can only speculate what is going on in their minds. We can't be certain on what their beliefs are and why they are doing what they are doing. In Muslim religion, they it was constant. I constantly heard death to the infidels, death to the white people. It was, and they believe it so much in their religion that it's okay for them. These I really hate going into this because it brings up so much, but
I
it's
just Do you feel you want to express it?
I don't know how to.
Okay. I just give me a quick second because you said something that just like hit me to the core and it brought tears to my eyes because it's it is a metaphorical representation of all of us. And you said you're talking about soldiers and blindly following with an arm, like holding up a gun and blindly following orders. And right, and we're thinking blindly following orders from their superiors. But all of us are soldiers to the ego. The ego, we are blindly following orders from the side of our mind that is asking us to shoot, that is asking us to attack, to defend, right? In this relationship, in this thing, there's always something. We're holding up our gun, our thing, and we are not consciously saying, like, what do I choose to do in this moment? Where am I coming from? Right? And so, what a powerful metaphor to enlighten how we actually end up following so much of the egoic thought system and the illusions and the belief in attack and defense. This is a huge part of the Course in Miracles. If you believe you must defend yourself, if you defend yourself, you have automatically believed in attack. And Jesus is teaching us there is no attack. There is no attack. And yet, how can we look at this world and look at all these examples and see it? He's saying the belief in attack is in our minds. And so it is in our mind because it's born of this idea of separation. And yes, this goes deep. This goes into the metaphysical, right? This goes into what he's talking about, the unconscious guilt that is within all of us. But the idea is to start looking at it and to start noticing that we all are soldiers to the ego until we wake up. And even then, we can wake up and patterns will still come up and we will still react. That reaction is the gun, is the I need to defend myself, is I need to attack before I'm attacked, in whatever form it may take. And yet, the entire purpose of all of this is that we are here to wake up and no longer be blind and see and truly see the sneakiness, the schemes of really our own belief in this idea that we're separate from each other, in this idea that we're separate from God. I mean, we should definitely go into this whole area of attack and defense, because that is, I mean, it could be today, but in the book, I think that would be very helpful and powerful to understand our belief in one or the other is automatically like it's the two sides of the same coin. I believe I'm being attacked, then I must defend. If I believe I have to defend, then I believe in the possibility of attack.
Yeah, it turns into a paradox. And speaking of books and paradoxes, there's a book called The Art of War by Sun Tzu.
Yes.
While the majority of people in this world may think this book is about how to gain higher ground on your enemy, this book is actually one how to wage war on your ego. Believe it or not.
Yeah.
Like everything you read in here, make your enemy believe you are far away when you are close. Make them believe you are close when you are far away. Same thing with the ego. Make the ego believe you are so far from this goal, so far from this idea that it's impossible, when in reality, you're within arm's reach. Right?
Beautiful. Yeah. And that just goes to show that like the perspective with which we read something will bear the fruits of what we take from that. Yeah, the book was intended to give a certain message, just like Jesus came to give a certain message. And yet, the mind of the receiver who takes the book, who gets Jesus's teachings, depending on where they are, what part of their mind they're receiving the information with, they will use it towards that, either blindly or consciously, right? So the work is always to look back at ourselves, to look back at our mind. What do I need to heal? This is all happening, all of it, for the healing of my mind.
Yeah.
For my peace. Yes.
Can I add something there?
Please, Mike.
Yeah. The way I look at it, okay, is the ego has no power except the power that we give to it. When we fight the ego, we're giving it power. I heard a joke one time that you don't wrestle with a pig because you both get dirty and the pig likes it.
I love that one. You shared that one. Yeah.
Yeah. What you say to the ego is, yeah, dude, whatever. If I notice that I'm getting angry, I don't try to fight the anger because that gives the anger power over me. I just notice that I'm angry. Okay, well, that's just my ego. I don't have to let that control me. I have the power not to let that crazy thought control me. All I have to say to the ego is, yeah, dude, whatever. Leave it alone. Don't fight the anger. Don't try to get rid of the anger. Just observe that it's anger coming up and leave it alone. That's it. I have the power not to let that control me. I can just let it be there. Yeah, I heard you. Hey, long time no see. How you doing, ego? Hey, pat him on the head. Whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, like make him in the sense like you're no longer the servant
Powerless.
to the ego, but yeah,
powerless.
powerless.
Yeah. You can be angry all you want. That's okay. It's up to you. But as to what I am a holy child of God. I have the power to make a decision, and I don't have to let that control me.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think that's that huge step in awakening, is realizing who we truly are. And once we know who we truly are, then we always have this point of reference that like, am I feeling what I truly am? Am I in line with that? And if I'm not, then it's probably egoic. And now I
Yeah.
can notice it. I can be aware. I can actually say, hey, like you said, hey, ego, yeah, no, I'm not listening. Like Lori was
Right.
saying this morning, oh, I'm noticing now. And I'm like, nope, I'm not. I can see all these lies that she's noticing, all these lies that she's believed for so long. But now we become aware. Shoot, I've been automatically just believing these lies. Like an innocent child would wake up, would be just like, oh, this is what life is. And your parents tell you this is what life is. It's hard. You got to struggle. Everyone, don't trust anybody, all these beliefs. And then we go into life and we just believe that that's what life is. And now we're relearning. We're relearning who we truly are beyond our parents, beyond what we were taught, beyond society, beyond our job. And we're like, okay. And then we understand there's this voice that is persistent, is the loudest, that is, it comes with the patterns that has been part of our identity for a long time. And we're starting to release it. So what
Yeah.
you're saying there, Mike, is like the practical daily practice of like noticing the thought and being like, nope, okay, I'm not taking the bait on that. I can see what's
Exactly.
happening, but I'm not taking the bait on it.
And you don't fight it.
Yeah, and you don't
You
fight it.
don't you don't grab the Course in Miracles and hit yourself over the head until you stop being
Oh,
angry.
guilt. Yeah, guilty.
You don't do any of that stuff. You just simply notice, yeah, anger is coming up, but that's just an alien thought. That's just a crazy thought that's coming up in my mind. I don't have to let it control me. Like I said, you pat the ego on the head and, hey, dude, that's okay. Don't worry about it. You go ahead and keep being angry, and I'll lead my life.
Yeah. The beginning of freedom.
Yes.
Hmm. Well, I really wanted to, this all was such a beautiful conversation. Thank you, Lori, for expressing your heart from the beginning. And but I think something that came to heart, since we've been reading the principle of miracles, um, to go into specifically the definition, because we're reading the Course in Miracles, we're going back and forth, and I think it's helpful to really ingrain what is a miracle. Because we have concepts about what miracles are, and that's something that's been ingrained in us. Yeah, the egoic interpretation of a miracle is something outside of us, right? That comes from God, who is not connected, who is not with us, but outside of us, and is in some holier, bigger, purer place than we are, right? So here we go, separation. And the Course in Miracles is teaching us that a miracle is something very, very different. And we are the miracle workers. Yeah, miracles can only happen through the workers of miracles. And that is from the mind that is showing up, that is doing the work. So I'm going to share the screen here so we can read this together. This very specific part. Here we go. Yeah. What is a miracle? I would love for somebody to read if anybody feels moved to read.
You can read.
Oh,
And good
Lori, I love
morning.
it when you read. Yes, good morning. Beautiful. Yes.
A miracle is a correction. It does not create nor really change at all. It merely looks on devastation and reminds the mind that what it sees is false. It undoes error, but does not attempt to go beyond perception, nor exceed the function of forgiveness. Thus, it stays within time's limits. Yet it paves the way for the return of timelessness and love's awakening, for fear must slip away under the gentle remedy it brings. A
Continue.
miracle contains the gift of grace, for it is given and received as one. And thus it illustrates the law of truth the world does not obey, because it fails entirely to understand its way. A miracle inverts perception, which was upside down before, and thus it ends the strange distortions that were manifest. Now is perception open to the truth. Now is forgiveness seen as justified.
Beautiful. And could you read that one more?
Absolutely. Forgiveness is the home of miracles. The eyes of Christ deliver them to all they look upon in mercy and in love. Perception stands corrected in his sight, and what was meant to curse has come to bless. Each lily of forgiveness offers all the world the silent miracle of love, and each is laid before the word of God upon the universal altar to Creator and creation in the light of perfect purity and endless joy.
Okay, let's stop there.
Okay.
We can read these next two. It's just so beautiful. So pretty.
It is.
Look at number 3. Forgiveness is the home of miracles. The eyes of Christ deliver them to all they look upon in mercy and in love. Who holds the eyes of Christ, right? Who holds the eyes of Christ? We do. The miracle worker sees through and unto the world from a perspective of the Christ in them. And like Mike was saying, seeing the face of Christ in the other. The next line, perception stands corrected in his sight of Christ that we hold within our mind. And what was meant to curse has come to bless.
To me, that's saying we may perceive something as hurting us or a negative experience when in turn it's actually providing us with, that missing piece we've been looking for. It's providing us with the lesson we need to learn in order to move on to the next chapter of our being.
Yeah, we think of a miracle as something miraculous that happens in the world that changes us. In the Course in Miracles, a miracle is something miraculous that happens in our hearts that change our world, that changes our world. It's something miraculous that happens in here, and it changes our world.
Yeah, it's the when we've changed in our mind, when there is a perception that has changed from fear to love, that
Our
allows for the
world is
miracle
different.
mind. Yeah,
Our world has changed.
our world has changed because we will now function differently. We will react differently. And therefore, if we think of like the butterfly effect, right? The way we show up is now different because of the internal posture that we have and how we are now, the vision that we have upon everything. So if I'm showing up differently, every reaction in turn, every following thing that happens will start to shift and change. And not because we're looking for, this is important, not because we're looking for some sort of effect or response to our vision. We just come from that place and then we allow spirit to, it'll just unfold from there. And that is indeed the miracle. We're bringing grace into the moment through our judgment of the moment or lack thereof, which is the forgiveness that the Course is talking about. What is that part that says like forgiveness doesn't do anything. It just stands quietly and like accepts. It is quiet and accepting of what is. It makes me want to look that little line up because that's such a beautiful line. But it's coming with that perspective, you know. I think its forgiveness does nothing. There it is. Forgiveness, on the other hand, is still and quietly does nothing. It offends no aspect of reality, nor seeks to twist it to appearances it likes. It merely looks and waits and judges not.
And you don't try to twist the ego or twist appearances, you just, okay.
Yeah, it's a radical
That
acceptance.
doesn't change who I am. Whatever it is that you said does not change who I am.
And we can say that, Mike, not only for people or things that are showing up in our lives, but also for the, like Lori was saying, for the things that show up in our own mind, for the
Right.
thoughts and the doubts and the judgment, self-judgment, or that judge others, like whatever's happening in the mind. We can say that those exact words. I know who I am. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
I know who I am. And I'm not believing this story anymore.
And there's another line in the course that it says, the ego can learn, and indeed it must learn. The more you ignore it, the less angry the ego gets. Because it realizes the anger is not getting me anywhere. So what happens is the less you fight it, the easier that anger just fades away. It takes some time, and as we practice, it takes less time.
That's it.
I always use the same joke about if you get cut off on the expressway, you slam on the brakes, get angry, and you're still angry when you get to the office and you yell at somebody, and that person yells at their spouse, and the spouse yells at the kid, and the kid kicks the cat. You practice, you notice I got angry, but I'm going to get over this. By the time you get to the office, the anger has subsided. You don't yell at other people. You keep practicing, and then you get to a point where you slam on the brakes. You're about to get angry, and you say, no, no, I'm not going there. And eventually, you get to a point where you slam on the brakes, and you say, hey, that's pretty cool. This time I didn't get angry.
Mm-hmm.
It's a matter of practice. Same way that you get to Carnegie Hall. Practice, practice, practice.
Exactly.
One of the practices I've begun to use to help me just be more in the moment and also silence the ego more or less. What I do is I simply ask myself, "What's next?" You know, no,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter how many times I have to, say it. I just ask myself, "What's next?" You know, like this morning, 7 o'clock this morning. I woke up and I'm just like, "What's next?"
Mm.
7:30, Stefania's group. Awesome, let's go. And so after this, what's next? Well, I got to go to work. It's going to take up some of my day. What's next after that? Well, I'll come to that when that time comes.
Comes.
Simply just asking ourselves what's next keeps us grounded in the moment and keeps the ego quiet, because if we are living in the moment simply for the next moment, then the ego can't expand on anything. There's no future to expand on, there's no past to reflect upon. We are simply living for what's next.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I feel like it's like there's this line in the Course in Miracles that's like it just says expect miracles. And it's like you're just opening yourself up to like whatever I'm doing next, whatever is the next thing, then I'm just going to show up completely for that. And
and
Yeah.
and, that, and that's also from the understanding that I also see everything now as everything that happens in my life is meant for me. Everything that arrives in my path is meant for me to act upon or reflect upon. It's there for a reason. It happened for a reason. So how can I take that and apply it to my being?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I love
Exactly.
that. That what's next. Yeah, I
Life,
think I feel
life.
like it's like a kid saying like, so what are we gonna do next? Like, what's up? What do we do? What's up next? Like it's like this open, almost childlike. That's how I feel it. Like this open childlike curiosity. Like what's next? And it could be your job and you know what that job's supposed to look like, but it's like what's next today within the job. Like I'm open. I'm open for a new experience today, for presence within the job. Whatever you're doing, it doesn't matter. There's like this open willingness. That's so nice.
Yeah, and I wrote it down, but I'm just going to say it. It happens for us, right?
Yeah.
Not to us. Happening for us, not to us. I say that so much to myself. It's happening for me, not to me, and that helps me as well. So, yeah, great one, Daniel.
Yeah, it's that shift from egoic interpretation to spirit. Yeah, spirit is always for you. And to the ego, it's always a victim. It's always happening to you. You're always, yeah.
And then also that phrase, going back to that, the perspective in his sight. Um, I put that in the chat too. I think that the phrase for me suggests that our understanding or view of something has now been aligned with a divine perspective. That's being corrected in his sight for my understanding.
Hmm.
So essentially, to have that alignment, then we're shifting or we're correcting our viewpoint. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. That's it. Yeah, it's like gaining a holy perception. And when that holy perception is the truth.
Yes.
That's it.
Today I went to a cave, and in the cave I was prompted to do a recording. So I did a recording of a song, and I started channeling before recording it. And then after playing it, and it was not perfect at all, but Spirit told me to share it on Instagram, and I just did. I just came home now, and I just feel terrified for people's judgment, and also people who are not on the spiritual path, who don't understand also what I wrote about it, which is like a course student would understand it. And I feel like I have committed commercial suicide, and yet the black dragon was just and Spirit was like working together, like, you need to share this so that you can let go of this fucking annoying pain in the ass, what people think about you, that you are too dark, that you are too unperfect, whatever it is. Let it go. So that was my step today, and I just feel terrified right now. And at the same time, I feel joyful that I finally let myself do it. Yeah.
Jonas, I just want to say really quick, that is freaking amazing
Yes.
that you
I
did
wanted to
that.
clap too.
And you know what? Your song is going to touch the right people. The right people are going to understand it. They're going to share it. They're going to tell people about it, and it will just expand. So, way to go.
Thank you.
Yeah, Jonas, it's always an invitation for your healing, and whatever will come of it will come. But it really is stepping into courage, stepping into authenticity, stepping into the, you know, I don't give a fuck anymore, really. And not in a hurtful way, not in a belittling way, like I don't give a fuck. No, it's not that. It's really no, I need to really embody what this zero fucks means. I need to embody it. And what that means is that the call for me to be authentic and true to what's in my heart is bigger and louder than the doubts and the fears of the ego. They're still there. You can hear them, you can see them coming up, like you're saying, I'm in fear, like I feel that right now. That's good. Okay, you can see it, and yet you did it anyway. And yet you posted anyway. And so good for you. That's just like good for you. Good. You what you're doing for all of us.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I also I also heard a guy the other day, like an astrologer guy, and he said like knowing but not doing is just like fucking painful. And it really hit home for me. It's like I know that I need to be authentic to be happy. So it's like if I have the prompt to be authentic and to share something, for example, and then I don't do it, it just becomes more and more painful because it's like no, don't want to do that anymore.
If we can also remember that those who judge are simply judging themselves. They are judging a reflection of themselves that they are seeing, and it has nothing to do with you. Nothing. Absolutely nothing to do with you. It's their own programming that they have conditioned themselves to believe.
Yeah, that's true.
And you are releasing that programming. So that's why you're still aware, because you had that program. We all did. And so when we're healing, we're aware of the programming in others because we have, or we're scared of that because that's the fear that still is lingering within us. But the more we step up and the more we step forward in truth, in authenticity, in love, despite the fears, we begin to experience what it is like an active, practical healing, because we begin to, show up in a different way. And that's exactly what Daniel's saying is that's it. Like they're where they're at, and that's not your responsibility.
Yeah, but it's challenging, right? When it's your profession and you also make a living from delivering something that is normally professional and well worked through and stuff like that, right? And then you share something that is maybe not so professional, and it feels like it can hurt your career and hurt your survival. But at the same time, it's like, well, if it hurts my survival, then fuck that.
But
yeah,
being heard is also stems from the idea that we are all separate, but we're not. So if someone's out to hurt us, then we are simply hurting ourselves. And that's the collective trying to bring itself down when we all see that we should be lifting each other up. And that's what I've learned. What normally happens when we do something, we may think that we're going to be met with resistance and hatred and frustration, but when in reality we are met with love and kindness and support, because truth be told, the majority of people out there want to see us succeed and grow. There's only a very small fraction that wants to watch the world burn, but it's a very small fraction. They're just so loud that it seems like they are many, but they are in fact very few. When I started telling my story and started doing retreats and holding groups like this, the ego is very prevalent. It's like, oh, no one wants to hear what you're going to say. No one wants to listen to your story. No one wants this. No one cares about it. No one, no one will find value in anything you say. When in reality, I have seen nothing but love and support from so many people, and it pushes me and motivates me to go even further. Like not just doing retreats, but actually finishing my books and holding other groups. That it motivates me to keep going and push myself further. And once we break past that fear, we realize that there's actually a lot of love and support out there, and we just see the hatred because that's what is advertised in front of our faces on these phones. 24/7 we see darkness, we see fire, we see bullets flying, so to speak. But that's a very small part of this world because the majority of people are just like us. We're sitting in our house right now or at the gym or wherever else and just living our life, trying to live out our life in peace when a very small group is trying to burn the world down. But we just have to remember that we are more than they are.
And that's the hard thing because all you see is the negative. So you feel like there's more negative people and there's more negative outcomes than there is positive. And you think, well, why am I, being a loving and why am I trying to help when are we really going to win this? You know what I'm saying? Because it seems like there's so much the negative is glorified. So that's all we see, like you said, that's all we see on the news, on the TV. All we see is the negative stuff. Nobody wants to see, you sitting in your car or going to work or me working out of the gym or Steph sitting in their house. But they don't want to see that. They want to see drama.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we're
Yeah.
bombarded with every single day. But also, we have this fear of not being accepted by people. And why? Why does it really matter? The ego just holds us prisoner, or they don't like me or they're talking about me or she looked at me the wrong way. And the person's not even thinking about you, but the ego just has you going crazy, just wanting to fit in and be accepted and part of the group.
Yeah,
It's
it
a
makes it
trap.
very personal. It makes
Yeah,
everything
yeah,
personal.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
it's you against others. There goes
yeah,
the
yeah,
separation again. Like,
yeah,
oh, they don't
yeah,
like me, or they're
yeah,
thinking about me. And
yeah,
it's all about me.
yeah.
Absolutely. Lori, what you were saying about like looking around and seeing all this, it makes it hard to like, why should I even show up in peace? Why should I even show up in love if everything around me is showing me the opposite? And the invitation of the course and Jesus and the spirit is this is not about what is happening around you. It is about what's happening in your mind, in your experience. What is around you is there to teach you, but it is not there to be the catalyst of what you do or what you don't do. Finger on the nose. I'm showing up with peace because I want peace. I'm showing up with love because I want love, because I want to know love and experience love. This is why I show up. I don't show up to change the world around me. I show up to change my world. And ultimately, the world around me will change because my experience is now different. Yeah. And so that is the consistent invitation to take it back to me. What am I doing to bring my own peace? How am I watching my own mind? You know? So that's beautiful that you bring that up because I think that that is a consistent question that we all have on the path. Um, and I had something else in mind for what Jonas was talking about earlier and Daniel, but okay, if it comes to mind now, I'll share it. But yes, yeah.
Steph, when you were talking, it makes me think of, you know, when we walk through life, we are creating this. Sorry, the glare of the sun is right behind me.
I
We
kind
are,
of love it. I
we,
love the sun just pouring through.
but as we are walking through life, right, we are carrying with us this energetic bubble, and all of us are operating on a different vibration. Our bubbles are different sizes, they're different shapes, they have different energy. And what Steph was saying was, the idea is embodying our authentic self, embodying energy that we know is truly authentically ourselves, which is love, which is support, which is kindness, and carrying that with us as we venture through life. And that to me is really the hardest challenge is, can we create a space of love and balance and carry that with us in every moment, in every experience, no matter who we're surrounded by, You know, if somebody comes up to us and just starts screaming at us and yelling at us and trying to put all of their anger and hatred off onto us, can we still hold that space of love and authenticity for that person? You know, and then can we grow that space? Can we share that space with others so that they embody that love themselves and then carry that space with them throughout their life?
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to be surrounded by the same people for our entire life. It's just not that's just not the plan. That's not part of our journey. We will, if we find that one person, we may spend the rest of our life with them, but the chances of us spent like me being surrounded by all of you for the rest of my life, well, probably not going to happen, because you guys have your own plans, you have your own paths, you have your own, ambitions to work towards, and so you're going to venture off on, into the world on your own. And so to me, it's about, how can I create a space of love for just a brief moment? Whoever comes to my space, can I create that space of authenticity so that they can absorb that energy and carry that with them to whoever they meet?
In
And
their bubble. Take it
yes,
in their bubble.
And tying into this concept, I heard another guy the other day, and he was talking about once you start to embody your authenticity, you'll automatically repel all the people who don't like authenticity, and they will kind of exit your life. And this is like what actually motivated me subconsciously to have that message in my mind. Like, I love that actually, that I can, make them go away, so that the people in my bubble are only people which I can be fully myself. That's just wonderful. So please unfollow me then if you want to hate. It's like,
Yes.
exactly.
Sounds like freedom, Jonas.
yes.
Beautiful. And there's that saying, be who you are so that others who are looking for you can find you.
Mm.
If we're not who we are, then those who are looking for who you are will never find you, because you're too busy being someone else for the people that don't even care to connect with the real you.
Mhm.
So that's it. That's what
Yeah.
it's about.
You know,
And I'm
and
thinking, if I would love, go ahead, Daniel. I'm gonna put up the last two paragraphs, because I definitely want to close it, have that together
I
before we close out. Go ahead.
anybody who embodies authenticity, they are not judging. They're not they're not thinking about other people and judging other people. There's no judgment in their hearts. So, if when more people can start to embody that authentic self, that authenticity, then we will see a very sharp decline in judgment of people in the world. And that's what I feel we are all working towards, is that unlocking of the authentic self,
Mm.
reveal truly who everyone is, not this mask that we are all wearing.
This is a beautiful conversation, and there was a lady that was really rude to me like a couple of years ago, and I just kind of, my whole self, I kind of just ignored it. And while I'm listening to this, and I asked, for forgiveness, and that I forgive her. And she just came over to me and she made conversation. She was looking at my shirt, because you see my shirt says "I love dogs." So she said, "Oh, you have dogs?" And I said, "Yeah." And she struck up this whole conversation. She was so nice. I'm like, wow. See, the ego again made me think that she was such a bad guy when she was just coming out of her own whatever she was going through. And there's a whole 2 years of not speaking, so it's all resolved now. It was nothing. So this conversation has been just amazing. Thank you all so much for your wisdom. Uh, it's amazing. Thank you.
Beautiful,
Thank you. That's
Lori.
all I can say. God is so good.
Thank
Yeah.
you for
Awesome,
starting.
Lori. Yay.
Yeah. These are the miracles that we begin to see when we start to not listen to the ego.
Yeah.
And they're reflections of the miracle in our mind, because the first miracle is in the mind. So let's read these last two paragraphs before we head off, each one into their own space. Would anybody like to read these last two paragraphs?
I can help. Hi.
Yeah, beautiful, Isabel. Yes,
How are you?
good.
All right. The miracle is taken first on faith because to ask for it implies the mind has been made ready to conceive of what it cannot see and does not understand. Yet faith will bring its witnesses to show that what it rested on is really there. What is rested on is really there. And thus, the miracle will justify your faith in it and show it rested on a world more real than what you saw before, a world redeemed from what you thought was there.
Oh, let's stop right there. This is
Mhm.
this is Lori's story right now. Everything she just said is in this paragraph.
What a
Yeah.
coincidence.
Like how beautiful is this? The miracle is taken first on faith because to ask for it is to implies that the mind has been ready to receive and conceive of what it cannot see. Yet faith will bring its witnesses to show that what it rested on is really there. Faith, what you rested on in the faith of believing something different about this lady, of looking at her in a different way, it brought the witness, her, the witness to truth. And thus the miracle will justify your faith in it and show it rested on a world more real than the one you saw before, a world redeemed from what you thought was there, the lie you thought was there between both of you. Beautiful. Like this is it. Go ahead, Isabel. You can the last
Yes,
paragraph.
miracles fall like drops of healing rain from heaven on a dry, dusty world where starved and thirsty creatures come to die. Now they have water. Now the world is green. And everywhere the signs of life spring up to show that what is born can never die. For what has life has immortality. For what has life has immortality. Beautiful. I love it. I love this part that says, now we have water, right? It's like we have life. Water is, it could be, like it flows. It's just natural. It feels nice. Now the water is green. It's organic. It's just full of life for us to appreciate it. Everywhere the signs of life spring up to show that what is born can never die. And yes, when we really transform, we feel the spirit within, nothing changes. There is no going back. There is no turning back as long as we still keep building the muscle, nurturing the muscle of our spirituality. I found myself in the past being a pleaser. And since the more I believe in love, in niceness, in relationships, in healing, and holding on my truth on who I am, a child of God. I have it all. Nothing is missing in me. And the need that someone will see that nothing was missing in me, the need for validation made me in the past be a pleaser, a people pleaser, and to my detriment, that I will later on, have a resentment. So I started looking at my resentment, started looking at my feelings. How do I feel? Why do I feel this way? It was like, okay, yeah, I'm doing something that is not coming naturally out of me. It's coming naturally out of pleasing someone else. I said I had to stop that because life is a mirror, right? What I have in my reality is a mirror where really I am and what I'm doing, what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling. So if I am doing out of a situation to please outside, then what is in here? I want to feel the void, the need to fill it up again. And it's not fulfilling when giving out and expecting. expecting somebody's reaction. So I'm not doing that any longer. Probably sometimes it comes, yes, because work in progress. But it's those moments where I'm aware, like, no, if I do that to please you, it's against my own needs. So I'm not doing anymore. I'm so sorry. Yes, I like the relationship. Yes, I like you. But then because pleasing you is higher than pleasing my own needs, I'm not in a balance. I don't feel like I should do that. So this brings the awareness, the self-love, the self-care that we do, because it is a self-care class. It's polishing us in a way that once the diamond is polished, because we're polishing with another diamond, which is a hard rock, it takes the guts to make time apart, do the reading, do the work, and trust and surrender completely to God, to the Spirit, to the guidance, which is with peace. It's leading us to peace. Because the moments where I feel these doubts and these situations that are uncomfortable, that I go through that, the uncomfortable, I go through that madness, I go through the sadness, I go through the pain. I don't want to avoid anything because I'm human. I feel that, but I not act on it. That's the difference. I'm choosing not to act on the pain, to take which is a temporary emotion, to take some permanent decisions under the feeling. So I will be regretting it. So I decided to calm down myself and ask myself, even if that's not me, but I ask Spirit, what is best? What is the surrendering to that guidance? That's what's helping us. That's what's helping us all here. The trust that we have in our higher self, in God, in the guidance, is bringing us closer to each other, closer to the peace, closer to the love that never ends. So thank you. Thank you for each one of you showing up and giving us your gift and your love.
Thank you, Isabel.
Someone said quote once. It's actually by Zach Bodenweber, who's a part of the Awakenpedia community. He said, if we want to feel good, we have to get good at feeling. And I like to change it to, if we want to be good, we have to get good at feeling. If we want to be the being we want to embody, we have to be able to feel everything. We have to be able to empathize with other people and what they're feeling. So we have to be able to truly feel if we are to be the best version of ourselves.
Yeah, and I would add, going to what Isabel was saying, and it connects a lot to what Jonas' experience is right now with people pleasing and authenticity, to really step into the authentic path. And this is a big topic for me right now, and even in my own journey of like stepping forward and new, like sharing my heart on YouTube and really speaking up, my insights and things that have come in learnings that I've had in my story, is that one of the biggest blocks to authenticity is people pleasing. Like it's so big. It's so important to identify where we please, because it is withholding our truest self in a moment, not even the truest ultimate self, like the most loving Christ self. It's just also impeding us from being real right now to what we're feeling, to what we truly need, to what we desire, to what we would like at any level of respect in a relationship, whatever that is. People pleasing will deter us, will distract, and will block us from stepping into that full authenticity. So the daily spiritual practice is, how can I be more authentic right now? And authentic in a loving way. Yeah, we can still be authentic and kind. Actually, I think if we're not being authentic, then we're letting the ego come back. If we're not being kind, then the ego is somehow involved there. Not to be judged, but the invitation is always to be more authentic in any given conversation, in any given post, or that is the freedom. And it's a spiritual practice for all of us.
We can definitely lose ourselves when people pleasing takes over.
That's it.
Definitely. Yep. We're definitely out of integrity. I love what this is. Yeah, you guys are great.
That's it. So like really honing in on how can I be more authentic now, or in this dynamic, or in this situation? How can I show up for myself more now? And to show up for ourselves is really trusting the divine behind it. Because when we don't, there's like a lack of trust. Like, oh, if I do this, then I'll be attacked. Then I'll be judged. Then I'll be, and it's no, doesn't matter, because I know truly who I am. I'm resting on that truth of who I am. So let's do that. Let's rest on that truth together. Let's step into more authenticity wherever we are, in the circles that we are, in the relationships we have. Be more truthful. That is a path that liberates us to receive more of guidance, more creativity, more things, because we are doing the thing. You know, we're being the thing. So, yeah, beautiful. All right, my friends, it is the top of the hour. What a beautiful, heartfelt, just wonderful conversation. Thank you all for blessing my morning. Thank you.
Thank you for making our day. Thank you for making
Thank you, everybody. It was beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, go shine your light today. Thank you. Let's
share your love.
Let's put what we're learning here, what we're taking in. Let's bring it out.
Get outside.
And get outside. And like Daniel says, okay, what's next? What's next? Where can I shine my light next? Show me what's next.
No, my next thing is now I'm gonna get rid of my car that was giving me so much trouble. I'm gonna buy me a new one.
There you go.
Okay. Hopefully, no more headaches with my car.
No more pleasing.
Thank you.
What'd you say, Jonas?
Yeah.
No animal pleasing.
Absolutely, yes. Let's please this animal first.
Yes,
because we are thirsty of so many. You have so many voids to fill. Let's replenish first ourselves. Then we can please.
Very nice.
Yeah.
All right, my darlings. You guys go off. I know you have your things to do. Thank you so much.
Have a fabulous day.
Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.